Have you ever felt like you were being pulled in 100 different directions? Work piling up, responsibilities pressing on you, and your mind tangled like a ball of yarn. In those moments, we often whisper to ourselves, "If only I could stand still, calm and steady, no matter the chaos around me." Buddhism calls this the art of self-mastery, not controlling the world out there, but learning how to control yourself. Because if we cannot master our own mind, then every victory outside is nothing more than passing wind. Imagine a life where you know exactly what you want, where you live aligned with what truly matters, and where fleeting emotions no longer dictate every step you take. That is not some distant dream. It begins with very small choices, every day, every moment. In today's journey, I will share with you 14 profound Buddhist lessons, teachings that have nurtured wisdom and inner strength for millions of people over thousands of years. These are not lofty theories, but principles you can apply right now in your daily life, from how you face challenges, how you protect your time, to how you keep your mind calm in the middle of the storm. So, let us step into this journey together. A journey not to change the world, but to change the way we walk through it. 1. Master yourself. There is a famous saying from the Buddha, "It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles." You know, the older I get, the more I realize this is not some distant philosophy, but a very practical reminder. We live in a world where everything is fighting for our attention. A message pops up, an unanswered email, a harsh word that sparks anger. If we are not mindful, our minds are carried away like a leaf drifting in a rushing river. So, what does it mean to master yourself? It begins with realizing that your emotions do not define you. You may feel anger, sadness, or anxiety, but these emotions are just clouds passing across the sky. The sky itself, that is who you are. Think of the last time you were angry. Maybe someone said something that hurt you. The heat rose up and you wanted to strike back. But if you paused, took one deep breath, you might have realized, wait, this feeling is just a visitor. It is not me. And in that short moment, something extraordinary happened. You mastered yourself. In the West, people often talk about self-control. But in Buddhism, the idea goes deeper. It is not just about control, it is about awareness. You do not suppress emotions, nor do you indulge them. You simply observe them, like someone standing on the riverbank, watching the water flow by. This takes practice, and practice begins with small steps. When you feel anxious, sit down, place a hand on your belly, take a deep breath, and exhale slowly. When you feel agitated, count from 1 to 10 before responding. These simple actions are like bricks laid to build the house of self-mastery within you. Another important point: mastering yourself does not mean becoming emotionless. On the contrary, when you can observe emotions without being pulled away, you actually become more compassionate. Because you understand if you yourself can be angry, sad, or afraid, then others can too. And with that, you learn forgiveness. There's a metaphor I love. The mind is like a garden. Leave it unattended, and weeds will grow wild. But if you tend it daily, pulling weeds, watering, planting seeds, it will bloom. Self-mastery is just like that. A daily effort, little by little, not only when big crises appear. And finally, when you train yourself in mastery, you discover a new strength. Nothing outside of you can truly throw you off balance. People may speak harshly, life may surprise you with challenges, but you will always keep a quiet space within. And in that stillness, you find freedom. That is the deeper meaning of mastering yourself. 2. Protect your time. There is a profound reminder in Buddhism. The problem is, you think you have time. We often live as if tomorrow, next week, or even next year will always be there waiting for us. We postpone what truly matters. We waste precious hours on trivial things, and then suddenly realize time has quietly slipped away, never to return. Think about your day. How many hours are spent on what you truly cherish, and how many are swallowed up by meaningless calls, draining conversations, or repetitive habits that lead nowhere? Protecting your time does not mean becoming selfish or distant. It means learning to distinguish between what nourishes your soul and what leaves you empty. Here's a small example. Some people say yes to every request. They attend every meeting, every gathering, until there's not a single moment left for themselves. Does that sound familiar to you? Protecting your time means daring to say no to what isn't necessary, so that you can say yes to what truly matters. Things like caring for your health, spending time with loved ones, or simply sitting quietly for a moment to breathe and listen to yourself. In Buddhism, time is life itself. Each breath is a treasure. When we waste time, we are in truth wasting our very lives. There is a simple practice. Before agreeing to anything, pause and ask yourself, is this truly important to me? Will it bring me closer to my core values? If the answer is no, have the courage to decline. And when you do give your time to what matters, be fully present. If you're having dinner with your family, put the phone away and really listen. If you're meditating for 10 minutes, let your mind rest. Don't let it wander back to work. When you learn to protect your time, you are learning to protect your life. Because every hour, every minute you choose today will shape the person you become tomorrow. 3. Seek challenges. The Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And in truth, the way we face challenges is the mirror that reflects our own mind. Have you noticed how often we treat difficulties like enemies? But the truth is, without challenges, we cannot grow. A muscle only becomes stronger when it is exercised. A mind only becomes resilient when it is tested. I remember a friend of mine who decided to learn piano after turning 50. He told me, "Every time I looked at the keys, I felt both excited and nervous. Sometimes I wanted to quit, but then I realized this challenge is showing me I can still learn, I can still grow." And indeed, after just 1 year, he not only played simple songs, but also discovered a new joy in life. Seeking challenges does not mean chasing after suffering. It means stepping out of your comfort zone, daring to try what makes you tremble. Because fear itself is the doorway to growth. When you face difficulties, change the question you ask. Don't say, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead ask, "What lesson is waiting for me here?" With that small shift, your whole perspective opens up. Imagine each challenge as a strict teacher. Not a pleasant one, but one who gives you the most valuable lessons. When you stumble, you learn how to rise. When you fail, you learn patience. When you face loss, you learn compassion. And most importantly, when you embrace challenges, you discover a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, more confident. Challenges are not here to break you. They arrive to reveal the strength that has always been within you. 4. Choose your influences wisely. There is a powerful teaching from the Buddha. An insincere and evil friend is more to be feared than a wild beast. A beast may wound your body, but an evil friend will wound your mind. At first, this may sound dramatic, but if you pay attention, it is completely true. The human mind is like a sponge. It absorbs whatever it is surrounded by. If you spend most of your time around people who complain, you will slowly become negative yourself. If you are in an environment filled with competition, pressure, and pretense, you will find yourself easily thrown off balance. But when you surround yourself with people who encourage and uplift you, your mind opens up and feels inspired. There's a simple question you can ask yourself: does this person help me become a better version of myself? If the answer is yes, that relationship is worth cherishing. If not, maybe it's time to reconsider how you invest your time and energy. The same is true with places. Some places make you feel at peace the moment you arrive, like a quiet garden, a park full of trees, or a tidy room with soft light. But there are also places that make you feel stressed and restless within minutes. In Buddhism, this is called conditions, or causes and conditions. Every friend you keep, every space you enter, becomes a condition that shapes your inner life. And when you choose wholesome conditions, your life changes. I remember an older student of mine, over 70 years old. He once told me, "The older I get, the more I realize how precious time is. I no longer want to waste it on empty conversations or in places that weigh me down. I only want to spend time with those who truly love and in places that bring me peace." That is the wisdom of choosing your friends and your environment. It's not about cutting people off or shutting yourself away from the world. It's about prioritizing, cherishing the relationships and spaces that nourish your soul. And you will see, when your surroundings are filled with positive energy, the journey of mastering yourself becomes so much lighter. 5. Say yes to what matters. The Buddha once taught, "Your work is to discover your world, and then with all your heart, give yourself to it." In a world overflowing with choices, we often feel pulled in 1,000 directions. Work, social media, relationships, countless invitations, all demanding our attention. And most of the time, we respond with one simple word: yes. But here's the problem. If you say yes to everything, you are really saying no to yourself. You trade what is meaningful and profound for what is trivial and fleeting. So what does it mean to say yes to what matters? It means daring to prioritize. It means looking at your life and asking, what truly nourishes my soul? What is truly worth my time and heart? Some people tell me, I can't say no. I'm afraid of disappointing others. I'm afraid of being seen as selfish. But I often remind them, saying no to what is meaningless is actually saying yes to what is valuable. Declining an unimportant meeting to spend the evening with family is not selfish, it is being true to your values. I remember a student of mine, always so busy she had no time left for herself. When I asked, she sighed, "Every day I run after work, but I feel like I'm not really living." After some practice, she learned to say yes to morning meditation, yes to family dinners, yes to small joys, and amazingly, she began to feel her life was meaningful again. Saying yes to what matters also means being fully present. When you're with your children, be truly there. When you're doing the work you love, pour your whole mind into it. Don't scatter yourself into 100 other thoughts. And then you'll see every yes you choose today is a brick laid for your future. If you say yes to what is real and true, you'll build a life that is strong and full of meaning. Remember, life is not measured by how many times you pleased others. It is measured by how many times you stayed loyal to what truly matters to your heart. 6. Commit to lifelong learning. The Buddha once said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, a person cannot live without a spiritual life." And that spiritual life is the ongoing journey of learning and growth. Many people think learning is only for the young, for when we're in school, reading books, taking exams. But the truth is, if you stop learning, your spirit begins to grow old, even if your body is still young. Lifelong learning is not just about adding knowledge. It is about curiosity, openness to new experiences, and the willingness to let life itself teach you fresh lessons every day. I have a student, now over 60, who still devotes himself to painting with oils. He once told me, "I know I'll never be a famous artist, but every time I learn, I feel as if I'm living a brand new life." And you see, that is the spirit of lifelong learning. Learning not for recognition, but to nourish the soul. In Buddhism, learning is not only about receiving, it is about seeing deeply. When you meditate, you are learning about the breath. When you observe your mind, you are learning about yourself. When you fail, you are learning humility. When you succeed, you are learning gratitude. A mind that keeps learning will never get stuck. It is like a river that keeps flowing, always fresh, always alive. On the other hand, a complacent mind that thinks it already knows enough is like stagnant water. It soon turns cloudy and begins to stink. So, how do we nurture the spirit of learning? It's simple. Let every day be a classroom. Read a page from a book, listen to a story, try something new, and most importantly, take time to reflect on what you've experienced. Because the real lessons are not in textbooks. They are in how you live, how you love, how you let go, and how you face yourself. Committing to lifelong learning is how you keep your soul forever young. And a soul that is youthful and open will always know how to master itself, even when the years have weighed heavily on your shoulders. 7. Learn from every experience. The Buddha once reminded us, the only real failure in life is not to be true to the best one knows. What does this mean? It means that every moment, every event in our lives carries a lesson. If we dare to open our hearts and listen, life itself becomes the greatest school. Think back for a moment. Have you ever had a bitter failure that later turned out to be a turning point in your life? Have you ever faced a rejection that, at first, broke your heart, but eventually opened the door to something better? One of my older students once shared, "Every time I face difficulties, instead of asking, 'Why me?' I've learned to ask, 'What lesson is here for me?'" And that one question changed his entire life. Learning from every experience is not about chasing perfection. It's about accepting that both joy and sorrow are teachers. Joy teaches us gratitude. Sorrow teaches us patience. Success teaches us humility. failure teaches us resilience. There's an image I love. A cracked pot that leaks water as it is carried. People may see it as useless, but along the path, the water nourishes flowers that bloom beautifully. Life is the same sometimes. The cracks within us become gifts for others, if only we choose to look deeper. Make it a habit to ask yourself each evening, what did I learn today? It might be a lesson from a conversation with a friend. It might be something you realized in silence while sitting alone. Or perhaps it's as simple as recognizing that just breathing is already a gift. When you embrace the spirit of learning from every experience, no day will ever feel wasted. Every moment becomes a shining gem, helping you grow and move closer to true self-mastery. And one day, you may smile and realize, life was never against you. It has always been teaching you how to become yourself, the best version of you. 8. Practice gratitude and mindfulness daily. The Buddha once said, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. If you notice, most of the suffering in life does not come from what is happening right now. It comes from clinging to the past or worrying about the future. That's why the key to peace is learning to practice gratitude and mindfulness in each moment. So, what is gratitude? It is pausing for a moment to recognize that life has given us more than we realize. A simple meal, the morning sunlight, the laughter of loved ones when seen with eyes of gratitude, even the smallest things become miracles. I remember an older student once told me, every morning I open my eyes, if I can still breathe, I quietly thank life. Simple words, but if you truly practice this, your mind will feel completely different. And what about mindfulness? Mindfulness is not about doing something grand. It is the habit of returning to the present moment. When you eat, just eat. Savor the taste in every bite. When you walk, notice each step touching the ground. When you breathe, know that you are breathing. When you combine gratitude with mindfulness, something magical happens. You begin to feel complete, even in the most ordinary things. You no longer chase happiness far away because you realize it is already here, in every breath. Of course, life will still have difficulties. But when your mind is trained to focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you feel lighter, calmer, more at ease. Try beginning with something small. Each night before bed, write down 3 things you are grateful for that day. At first, it may feel awkward, but after just a week, you'll notice your heart feels brighter, warmer. Gratitude and mindfulness are like 2 wings. One keeps you rooted in the present, the other lifts you with appreciation. And when both are open, you will find yourself rising higher, lighter, and more peaceful in the very life you are living. 9. Develop resilience through accepting suffering. The Buddha once said, pain is certain, but suffering is optional. At first, this may sound like a paradox, but if you look closely, you'll see it contains a treasure of wisdom. Because in life, no one escapes pain, loss, illness, failure, separation. Pain is undeniable, but suffering arises when we resist and refuse to accept reality. Think back to a time when you went through a hardship. Perhaps the loss of a loved one or a dream that never came true. The pain itself was real, but it was the torment of asking, why me? Or, if only, that turned that pain into deep suffering. Developing resilience means daring to face the truth. Pain is part of being human. When we accept it, We strip it of its power. We stop letting it dictate our lives. I once knew a man who lost his job after more than 20 years with the same company. He was devastated, heartbroken, but instead of drowning in bitterness, he asked, "What lesson is here for me?" And then he began learning a new skill, starting a small venture. A few years later, he told me, "If it hadn't been for that event, I would never have dared to live the life I truly wanted." Accepting suffering does not mean indifference or resignation. It means having the courage to face reality, and from there, finding a way forward. When you allow yourself to feel pain without judgment, you'll notice it gradually dissolves like a cloud that eventually drifts away from the sky. And more importantly, the shared pain of humanity becomes a thread that connects us. When you accept and understand your own suffering, you naturally become gentler with the suffering of others. From there, compassion grows, and compassion is the solid foundation of a resilient heart. Developing resilience through acceptance of suffering is learning how to stand firm in the storm. Not because the winds stop blowing, but because within you the roots have grown deep. And when those roots are nurtured, you will realize life will not always be easy, but you are strong enough to keep walking, carrying peace in your heart. 10. Live in harmony with your core values. The Buddha once taught, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without." That means true peace does not come from how much money you have, how much fame you gain, or what others think of you. It comes from whether you are living in alignment with your true values. So what are core values? They are the principles you hold most deeply, like honesty, kindness, love, or discipline. They are the inner compass guiding you through the complicated crossroads of life. The problem is, sometimes we let ourselves get swept away by the current of society, and we forget that compass. We may say we value kindness, yet speak harshly when we're angry. We may say we value integrity, yet compromise it for short-term gain. Living in harmony with your values means daring to ask yourself, do my daily actions truly reflect the person I want to become? If the answer is not yet, that is not failure, it is an opportunity to realign. I remember a friend who always valued honesty. One day, he faced a choice: either lie to secure a big contract or tell the truth and risk losing everything. He chose honesty, and yes, he lost the contract, but he kept something far more important, peace in his heart. He told me, "I may have lost an opportunity, but I didn't lose myself." Living true to your values is not always easy. It takes courage to say no when everyone else is saying yes. It takes patience to walk the honest path when it seems longer and harder. But in return, you gain a life without inner conflict. You sleep better, breathe deeper, and smile from within. Because in the end, happiness is not about how much you own. It is about whether you are truly living as the person you were meant to be. And when you live in harmony with your core values, you not only bring peace to yourself, but also become an inspiration to others. A single candle lights itself, and then illuminates the whole room. 11. Learn the art of deep listening. We often think we know how to listen. But the truth is, most of the time, while someone else is speaking, we're only waiting for our turn to reply, or our mind is already wandering elsewhere. Deep listening is an art. It's not just hearing with the ears, but listening with the heart. When you truly listen, you give the other person an invaluable gift. the feeling of being understood. The Buddha once taught, "One who truly listens will discover truth, not only in words, but also in silence." That teaching reminds me of a small story. A woman once came to a Zen master, weeping because life felt unbearably unfair. The master simply sat beside her, no interruption, no advice, just a full, present silence. After a while, the woman sighed with relief and said, "For the first time, I feel like someone has truly heard me." And from that moment, her pain began to ease. That is the power of deep listening. No advice needed, no solution required, just presence. In daily life, you can practice this by really looking into someone's eyes, putting your phone aside, and listening without judgment. Don't rush to give advice. Don't rush to disagree. Give them space to reveal themselves. And here's the interesting part. When you learn to listen to others, you also learn to listen to yourself. You begin to notice the whispers inside, the hopes, the fears, the emotions you may have ignored for so long. Deep listening doesn't only heal others, it heals us as well. It teaches us patience, compassion, and true presence. Try this. The next time someone shares their heart with you, don't interrupt, don't try to fix. Just sit there, listening with your whole heart. You may discover something miraculous. Sometimes, listening itself is more powerful than any words. 12. Knowing when to let go. We grow up in a society that constantly tells us, hold on, don't lose, never give up. But sometimes, true wisdom lies in knowing when to release your grip. Letting go does not mean failure. Letting go means you are awake enough to recognize when something no longer serves your peace and happiness. And you choose to walk away not out of weakness, but out of a desire for freedom. The Buddha once taught, "Let go, and you will have peace." Simple words, yet not easy to practice. Because we often cling to a broken relationship, to a dream that no longer fits, or even to old grudges that weigh us down. I remember a student of mine, already in his 70s, who once confessed, "All my life I carried resentment toward an old friend. But when I finally learned to let go, I realized the one who had been suffering the most all these years was me." From that day forward, he lived lighter, as if freed from an invisible burden. Letting go also means trusting. Trusting that when one door closes, another will open. Trusting that when you leave behind an unhealthy relationship, you create space for deeper and more genuine connections to enter. You can start with small things. Let go of an item you no longer need to clear your room. Let go of a habit that drains your body. Let go of a self-critical thought you've repeated for far too long. Each time you let go, you create space inside yourself. And that empty space becomes fertile ground for peace and new joy to grow. Remember, not every battle needs to be won. Sometimes wisdom is knowing when to step back, and when you learn this, you'll find yourself lighter, freer, and closer to your truest self. 13. Cultivating compassion. The Buddha once taught, "The greatest victory is the victory through love, not through violence." In life, we sometimes believe that strength comes from power, wealth, or the ability to dominate others. But the truth is, the most enduring strength comes from a heart that knows how to love and to understand. Compassion is not pity. Compassion is the ability to put yourself in another's place and truly feel their pain. When you truly see someone suffering, you no longer wish to harm them. Instead, you want to soothe them, to lift them up. I remember an elderly man who once joined a meditation class and shared, "All my life I was harsh with my son, thinking it would make him strong. But when I began to practice compassion, I realized what he needed was not cold strictness, but understanding and acceptance." From that day on, their father-son relationship grew warmer and closer. Compassion begins with yourself. When you can forgive yourself for mistakes, you can be more generous with others. When you are gentle with your own mind, that gentleness naturally radiates out into the world. And the miracle is, compassion does not make you weak. It makes you stronger because you are no longer controlled by anger or hatred. You can face conflict with calmness. You can choose reconciliation instead of division. Try a simple practice. Every morning, before starting your day, silently wish someone, perhaps a loved one, a friend, or even someone you dislike, "May you be safe, healthy, and happy." As you do this, your heart begins to open, like a flower blooming. To cultivate compassion is to nurture an invisible source of strength. It not only brings you peace, but also inspires and heals those around you. And when the world gains one more compassionate heart, it becomes just a little more beautiful. 14. Living simply. In a world that constantly urges us to want more money, more possessions, more achievements, living simply can sometimes feel like a quiet revolution. Simplicity does not mean lack. Simplicity means letting go of the excess so you can see clearly what is truly precious. I once met an elderly woman, over 80, living in a small house on the outskirts of town. Her home had nothing luxurious, just a few old books, a teapot, and a little garden in the back. But as we talked, I saw in her eyes a peace that many wealthy people never touch in their entire lives. She said, "I don't need much to be happy. I just need enough. Enough to eat, enough to wear, and a soul that feels at ease." Living simply also means not chasing endless comparisons. You don't need the newest car, the biggest house, or the largest bank account to be considered successful. Because if you keep running after someone else's definition of success, you will never feel enough. In Buddhism, simplicity lightens the mind. When there is less to cling to, there is more space to breathe, to love, to truly live. You can begin with very small steps. For example, clean out your closet and keep only what you really use. Turn down the noise of social media and spend more time in real conversations with loved ones. Or simply give yourself one afternoon to sit and enjoy tea without needing to be productive. Simplicity is a choice. It reminds us that happiness is not found in how much we have, but in how deeply we appreciate what we already hold. And when you live simply, you'll notice everything becomes clearer. Your mind feels lighter, your heart opens wider, and each passing day becomes filled with meaning. My friend, mastering your life is not a destination, it is a journey, lived day by day, breath by breath. Each lesson we shared today, from gratitude to letting go to living simply, is like a small brick building the home of peace within you. If these reflections touched your heart, leave a comment about which lesson you will begin practicing tomorrow. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video so that together we can spread peace to even more people. The journey has already begun. Now, the rest is up to you.